Hi, everybody. I'm DJ Foster here at the GVSU Football Center with Laker offensive coordinator Eric Koehler as we preview the upcoming 2011 football season. Coach, last year you guys went 11-2, advanced to the second round of the playoffs. As the offensive coordinator, your offensive side of the ball was very good last year, averaged over 36 points a game and nearly 440 yards. But you lost some key guys from last year. GLIAC Offensive Lineman of the Year, Cam Bradfield, and some other all-GLIAC performers, Kyle McMahon, Justin Sherrod, Ryan Bass. How do you expect to replace the production from the seniors lost?
Well, I think one thing we're used to that. You know, anytime you're at Grand Valley State, you're going to lean on some upperclassmen that are probably going to be, if not your very most productive players, some of your most productive players. So I don't think that's uncommon here. But I think the key to it is at Grand Valley there's always cases where there's some guys that you believe are going to be good players. They just haven't had opportunities in games to show that publicly. And that's what we're going to need. We're going to need some people at those spots to, in their first opportunities, probably to really play in varsity action, to play as well as we think they can.
Now, obviously all offenses are based around the quarterback. Last year's starter, Kyle McMahon, as I mentioned, was an all-GLIAC performer for you in 2010. He's gone. Heath Parling is in as the starter. What has Heath's progression been since last year, and who do you kind of look behind him to kind of be the backup roles?
Well, I think the biggest positive with Heath and the quarterbacks we have in our system right now is that last year when we asked Kyle to start game 1 of 2010, you know, he had only been in our system for 9 months, really. And although he may have been the most capable guy physically and at that time was able to beat out some of our other quarterbacks to be our starter, his experience wasn't such that probably the same as what all of our quarterbacks are going to be in a situation now. You know, Heath is starting his 3rd year in our program. He's a great student, as well as Isaiah Grimes and Taylor Capacia, who will both be vying for playing time as well. And even Brandon Beitzel is getting ready to start his 2nd full year in our offense. So the fact that, you know, all of those guys are probably, you know, they're all more experienced in our offense than Kyle was. So where in our quarterback position total right now, we have about 60 varsity snaps of experience, what Heath played last year. We probably really, realistically, if you look at the experience they have in our offense, have more than we had even with Kyle out there in 2010. So we think those guys can be good players. Again, they would fall into that group. We think they can be good players. We have to see them do it in games to prove it.
Okay, now with Heath, you have some good skill players coming back as well. Guys like Greg Gay, Norman Schufer, Javon Augustus, Tony Carreri, Hersey Jackson. What do you kind of expect from your skill players going into the year?
You know, that's probably the position group on our side. Tight end, wide out, and running back where we're the deepest and experienced. Just starting with tight end, Tony Carreri and Andrew Lorman coming back, both seniors. Both have played a ton of meaningful downs at Grand Valley State and are very good players, have had good summers. Our wideouts were 6 or 7 guys deep. Greg Gay, our leading receiver's back. Javon Augustus made a ton of plays for us in 2010. He's back. There's other guys you're going to get the opportunity to see for the first time that will be helping us at that position. And running back, I think Norman Schufer has kind of separated himself from that group of guys. But then you have, like you said, Hersey Jackson still waiting for his first opportunity to play meaningful snaps at Grand Valley. Jake Aberg, a transfer. Mike Rattay, Chris Robinson, Billy Seiler. You know, that group specifically, I think there's probably 5 or 6 guys that are game-capable players for us. And it might be who's healthy and who practices the most, who's that second guy behind Norman when we get out of camp.
Okay. Now, maybe the most important part of the offense this year is keeping Heath upright and, protecting him in the backfield. So talk about the guys in the trenches you have on the offensive line.
Well, I think, you know, it kind of for us is going to start with Jim Hardy. And, you know, he's a senior coming back for his last year. We expect big things out of him. Tim Lolito's coming back for his junior season. Both those guys have played a lot of meaningful snaps at Grand Valley. And then much like the quarterback position, I think the rest of that offensive line is going to get rounded out a lot in a similar fashion with guys that we think that are good players. We can show you practice tape of them being productive. They haven't had a ton of game reps. I think of Andy Biedenbender, for example, who is going into his 4th year in our program, hasn't played a ton of varsity snaps because he's been behind guys like Sam Allen and Nick McDonald and Cam Bradfield, who all 3 are NFL-type players or are NFL-type players. And I think you know, him having his first opportunity. So there's guys like that we think are good players. They just haven't played yet. A similar theme, you know.
Now, 2010, last year's team, you scored 28 or more points in 10 of 12 games. Looking forward to 2011, what should the expectations be for this year's offense, and what's going to be the key to success?
Well, I think the expectation is that in the most meaningful game, we don't score 6 points. I mean, let's face it, the way the thing ended, we're very, nobody on our side of the ball is excited about the way the season ended. Our players, our coaches, myself, Coach Mitchell, that isn't the way we played the entire season. If you look at the first run of the season, we kind of were able to play really well early, and then we played well through the midpoint. And then I think, late in the season, we didn't play our best football the last game. And to me, I think, it's something that Tim Sogo talks a ton about. What we're going to talk about on offense starting tonight in our unit meeting is you got to play your best when it's the most needed. And I think that's going to be a common theme. And for us, that's going to be Thursday, August 10th, I believe, is our first. Today's the 9th, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So the 11th, August 11th will be our first day where we got to go out to practice and play the best we can that day. And that certainly isn't what happened the last game of the season last year. We have a lot of motivation to come back and play better. But to me, that's what our kind of focus revolves around. When we got to play our best, we have to go out and do it. And in Grand Valley history, there's going to be a lot of big games that we're probably going to lead into in the 2011 season. We got to perform well in those games.
Well, we look forward to it and look forward to putting up big numbers on the scoreboard this year.
Let's hope we do.
Thanks a lot for joining us.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.